Death is one of the most fascinating and feared topics of all time. We must all face it eventually, yet the very thought of it can be overwhelming and fearful, causing us to question the meaning of our lives and the nature of our existence. But what if I told you that death is just an illusion, that it's not the end, but rather a doorway to a new beginning? For many of us, the fear of death stems from our attachment to this physical body. We identify so strongly with it that we can't imagine life without it. We're afraid of losing everything we've worked so hard for, everything we've achieved, and everything we love. But what if we're wrong? What if death is not the end, but a transition to a new state of being? The truth is, many ancient cultures saw death as a natural part of the cycle of life. They didn't fear it, but instead viewed it as a necessary step towards a greater existence. The ancient Egyptians, for example, believed that death was merely a gateway to the afterlife, where the soul can continue to live and thrive. In fact, they dedicated their whole lives preparing for this transition with elaborate burial rituals. But the Egyptians weren't alone in their beliefs. Other cultures around the world have long seen death as a natural part of the journey, one that can lead to bigger and better realms of existence. But still, why do we fear death so much? Perhaps it's because we've lost touch with the deeper meaning of life and death. We've become so focused on the material world that we've forgotten about the spiritual realm that lies beyond it. We've become attached to things that truly don't matter, and we've lost sight of the bigger picture. But what if we can change that perspective? What if we can embrace death as a natural part of life and see it as a doorway to a new and greater existence, knowing that death is just another step of this journey we call life? So join me as we explore the mysteries of death and the afterlife and discover the deeper meaning to this universal experience. We'll take a look at ancient cultures and their beliefs about death. We'll explore the latest scientific research into near-death experiences and the afterlife. In addition to the mysteries of life and death, we'll explore the fascinating concept of reincarnation. And I'll dive into a case, an intriguing story of a boy who claimed to be a World War II pilot in a past life, and explore the scientific evidence supporting this concept. So let's embark on a mysterious adventure that will change the way you think about life and death, and get ready for a journey that will challenge your perceptions and open your minds to new possibilities. Death is the ultimate unknown. For centuries, it has been a subject of fascination, fear, and wonder. But what if I told you that death is merely an illusion, a transition from one state of being to another? What if I told you that the fear of death may be holding you back from living your life to the fullest? Many of us have an inherent fear of death, a fear of the unknown, of what lies beyond the veil. But what if we all shift our perspective and view death not as an end, but as a continuation of life? We attach our identity and sense of self to this physical body, to our accomplishments, possessions, and relationships. And when death comes knocking, we fear that all that we have gained and achieved will be lost. But all of these things are temporary. They're simply just experiences in this physical realm. Our true self is not limited to this physical body, but rather a part of the infinite consciousness that permeates everything. The fear of death can hold us back from fully living and experiencing life. It can keep us trapped in patterns of safety, routine, and comfort, preventing us from taking risks and embracing new experiences. By confronting the fear of death head on and embracing its inevitability, we can live each moment with a renewed sense of purpose, passion, and gratitude. From the moment that we're born, we're given an identity, and we take this identity throughout life. We gain possessions and we accomplish goals, and then we start identifying with these things. And that's where the fear of death and losing it all comes in. Yes, we should accomplish all our dreams and goals and all that we strive for. But when we start identifying ourselves with these accomplishments, we start to stray away from our true higher self. By shifting our perspective and embracing the notion of death as a continuation of life, we can begin to see ourselves as part of something greater than our physical selves. But this idea is not a new one. Many ancient cultures throughout history have already discovered this.
Let's rewind the clock and travel back in time to explore how ancient cultures viewed the mystery of death. By peering into their beliefs, we'll uncover a profound understanding of this inevitable part of life and gain valuable insights that we can apply to our own existence today. The ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife where the soul would be judged and weighed against a feather of truth. Those who passed the test would be granted eternal life in the field of reeds. Death was not seen as an end, but rather a continuation of life in a different realm. The ancient Egyptians had a rich and complex belief system surrounding death and the afterlife. They believed that when a person died, their soul, or Ka, left their body and entered the afterlife. The journey to the afterlife was difficult and full of challenges, but if the soul passed the judgment of the gods and the weighing of the heart ceremony, they would be granted eternal life. One of the most significant documents that provide insight into ancient Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife is the Book of the Dead. This book of spells and prayers was written on the papyrus scrolls and buried with the deceased to assist them on their journey to the afterlife. According to the Book of the Dead, the soul would enter the Hall of Mot, where their heart would be weighed against a feather of truth, representing the goddess Mot. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul would pass into the afterlife. If it was heavier, the soul would be devoured by the monster Amit. Evidence of ancient Egyptian belief in the afterlife can be found in many tombs and burial sites discovered by archaeologists. These tombs were often filled with offerings and treasures to assist the deceased in the afterlife, including food, drinks, and even servants who were buried alive with their masters. Similarly, the Greeks believed in the concept of the underworld, where the soul would be guided. Here, the soul would continue to exist in a shadowy realm. Greek mythology was seen as a place where the souls of the dead would go to be judged by the gods. Those who were deemed worthy would then be sent to the Elysian Fields, a place of eternal happiness and joy. The idea of the afterlife was well known and widely believed in ancient Greece, and is even referenced in many literary works, such as Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. Furthermore, the Greek philosopher Plato wrote extensively about the nature of the soul and its existence after death. In his famous work, The Republic, he argues that the soul is immortal and that it continues to exist after the body dies. He also suggests that the soul can attain a state of pure knowledge and wisdom in the afterlife, free from limitations of the physical world. In Hinduism, death is viewed as a natural part of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. Death is not the end, but rather a transition to another life, determined by karma and the soul's journey towards moksha, or liberation, from the cycle of samsara. Hinduism also emphasizes the importance of performing good deeds and living a virtuous life to attain a better rebirth. This belief in the clinical nature of life and death is reflected in many Hindu rituals and practices. There are also many scriptures and texts in Hinduism that discuss death and the afterlife, including the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches that the soul is eternal and indestructible. One of the key beliefs in Hinduism is the concept of samadhi, a state of deep meditation where the individual experiences oneness with the universe and transcends the limitation of the physical body. This state is often associated with the moment of death, as the soul is believed to leave the body and merge with the divine. In Hinduism, death is seen as a process of transformation, where the individual sheds their physical body and ego to return to their true nature as pure consciousness. This process is guided by Yama, the god of death, who judges the soul based on their actions in life and determines their next rebirth. Overall, in Hinduism, death is seen as a natural and necessary part of the soul's journey towards liberation, and is approached with acceptance and reverence rather than fear. But despite the diversity of beliefs and practices surrounding death and the afterlife in ancient cultures, there is still a fundamental similarity in their approach to this inevitable part of life. Each of these cultures see death as a transformative process where the individual moves beyond the limitations of the physical body to a new state of existence. Whether it's Egyptian belief in eternal life, the Greek concept of the soul's journey, or the Hindu cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, the idea of death as a stepping stone to growth and ascension is a shared theme that unites these cultures. They remind us that death is not something to be feared, but rather embraced as an important part of the human experience.
Many spiritual traditions, both ancient and modern, hold the belief that death is not an end, but rather a doorway to a higher state of consciousness. According to these traditions, death is viewed as a transition from one form of existence to another, where the soul continues its journey. One of these traditions is what I mentioned earlier, the practice of samadhi. Samadhi is considered the ultimate act of self-realization and liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Yogis who have attained mastery over their body and mind are believed to be able to enter into a state of deep meditation or samadhi at the moment of their physical death and to consciously release their soul from the body. In samadhi, the ego dissolves and the individual merges with the cosmic consciousness. This state is said to be a precursor to the ultimate state of consciousness after death, where the soul is believed to merge with the divine and become one with the universe. In addition to spiritual beliefs, there is also scientific evidence that suggests that consciousness may continue beyond this physical body.
Near-death experiences, where individuals report vivid and life-changing experiences while clinically dead or close to death, are one example of this phenomenon. These experiences often include feelings of peace, love, and unity with a higher power or consciousness. Research on the afterlife has also shown that consciousness may persist after death. For example, studies on past life memories in children and adults have found compelling evidence that suggests the existence of reincarnation and the continuation of consciousness beyond death. One famous case is that of James Leanger, who began to have vivid nightmares at the age of 2 about being a World War II pilot named James Huston. He described details about the plane and even recognized the names of fellow pilots. His parents were skeptical until they discovered a pilot named James Huston who had died in the exact same way as James Leanger's dreams described. James Leanger was also able to identify photos of the pilot and his aircraft despite never having seen them before. In addition, studies on near-death experiences have suggested that consciousness may continue beyond the physical body. During near-death experiences, people report feeling a sense of peace and floating above their body, often seeing a bright light or loved ones who have already passed. Researchers have also found changes in brain activity during near-death experiences, such as decrease in activity in the parietal cortex, which is associated with our sense of self and our physical body. This suggests that consciousness may be able to exist outside of the physical body. Studies on consciousness in the moments before and after death have shown interesting findings. For example, one study found that hospice patients reported experiencing an increase in spiritual experiences and a decreased fear of death as they approach the end of their life. While scientific evidence for the survival of consciousness beyond death is still debated, these studies do raise intriguing questions about the nature of consciousness and the afterlife.
So how can we shift our perspective on death from one of fear and uncertainty to a mind of acceptance and even gratitude? Simple. By embracing death as a natural part of the cycle of life, we can use it as a catalyst for growth, transformation, and a more meaningful existence. One of the key ways to embrace death is to cultivate a deeper understanding of the now. Remember, everything in this life is constantly changing, and nothing is permanent. By acknowledging this reality and accepting it, we can let go of attachments and live life more fully and present in this moment. We can appreciate the beauty and the wonders of life without clinging to it, and we can still find the joy and beauty in it all. Another way to embrace death is to shift our focus from fear of dying to the gift of living. We can recognize that every moment of life is precious and fleeting, and we can use this awareness to live with more purpose, passion, and gratitude. By living fully and authentically, we can leave a positive legacy that will continue long after we're gone. We can practice mindfulness, meditation, and self-reflection. These practices can help us become more present and be more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and our emotions. And it can help us cultivate a deeper sense of peace and inner knowing by connecting with ourselves and the infinite consciousness that permeates through everything. We can transcend the limitations of the physical body and embrace the mystery and wonders of life and death. For me, this life is just a temporary form that we inhabit before moving on to the next stage of our journey. I believe that we are here to learn and grow, to expand our consciousness and become the highest version of ourselves possible before ultimately transitioning to a new state of existence. The awareness of our own mortality can be both daunting and inspiring, reminding us to live each day to the fullest and make the most of the time that we do have. Every experience, every challenge, every joy and sorrow is an opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the universe, and to prepare for the ultimate transition. When I contemplate the mystery and the wonder of life and death, I get filled with a sense of humility and gratitude. It inspires me to live with intention and purpose, to seek out new experiences and help those that seek help, and to create a positive impact on the world around me. By embracing the reality of death, we can find motivation and meaning in our lives, and we can strive to become the best version of ourselves that we can be. As we come to the end of this journey, exploring the mysteries of death and the afterlife, I want to leave you with a personal message. Death is not the end, but a transition to a new phase of existence. It's a doorway to something greater, something beyond our current understanding. Instead of fearing it, let's embrace it as a natural part of life and use it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. We must realize that life is short and constantly changing, but that does not mean we can't make the most out of it. We can choose to live our lives with purpose, passion, and gratitude, making every moment count. We can work hard towards our goals and dreams and be grateful for every experience, even the challenging ones. So my friends, I encourage you to take this knowledge and use it to live your life to the fullest. Embrace the mystery and beauty of life, and don't let the fear of death hold you back from experiencing all that it has to offer. So if you've enjoyed this journey with me, please show your support by subscribing, hit that like button, leave a comment. It'll mean so much to me. And let's continue to explore the mysteries of this life. And until next time, embrace life, embrace death, and live every moment to the fullest. Let's become the best versions of ourselves possible.